So here we are now with exercise 26. So we're going to be doing in this lesson a view of looking directly up at the sky now and seeing buildings or skyscrapers or edifices, if you will. So the difference between this one and exercise 25 is that the place that we're positioned in, that's probably the best way to say it, compared to the objects we're looking at. Now, the last one we were looking down as if we were in an airplane or a helicopter, right? Looking onto a cityscape. Now we're going to be on the ground looking directly up to the sky. We're still in one point and we're still at 90 degrees. So think of it this way. It's as if you're in New York City or you're in Chicago, San Francisco, downtown, wherever, Cincinnati here, in Cincinnati, wherever it is. And you are standing on the concrete and you're looking up at skyscrapers, but your head is so tilted that you're looking all the way up, right, at the sky at 90 degrees, straight up, coming right at us. That's the view that we're looking for. So it's kind of an extreme one point, which I like to talk about. All right, let's do our setup here. Let's do our fundamental 4. I'm going to put the horizon line from the bottom of the drawing up at 9 1/4 inches. That's what I have in my notes. So it's a little bit off center, just barely 1/4 inch up. So 9 1/4 inches. Horizon line, eye line still straight over. Okay, we'll put the center point, center of vision, center point at 12 inches in. Okay, so we'll put that down. Let me demarcate that here. Try to keep my head out of the way. So we're 12 inches in. Okay, there's our VP, our vanishing point. All our diminishment back up to the sky will be here. Remember, all of this now, all of our picture plane, it's all sky. This is all of it, all sky. There's no sky or ground or just ground like exercise 25. When we look up, we see, this is all we see right now is sky, okay? So let's put our center vision line in. We're getting our fundamental 4, right? So let's get our center vision line in from our vanishing point. I'll throw it up and also down too as well so we can see that. And then we'll put our station point in so we can get a good 45-degree measuring point. Now, I've got in my notes that the station point will be 7 inches from the vanishing point down. So 7 inches from the VP down will be right there, 7 inches. So there's our station point right there. I'll put SP, and remember that's us. We'll be flapped up, or in this case, inverted down, looking straight up, which is pretty dynamic, okay? All right, so let's get our cone set in. That'll help a little bit with composition because we want to keep, we're looking directly up, and we're going to play this a little bit where compositionally we'll crop in a little bit later. I'll talk about that later. So let's get our 30-degree triangle. You should know how to do this. If you're watching and practicing all the videos, you'll know 30 degrees right there from our station point right there. That's the right side of our cone, our 60-degree cone, and then we can take our compass here and then place it on the steel end in the center and then just adjust our rotating of our graphite in a little bit from me to where it touches there, and that's our 30-degree cone now making it 60-degree all the way through. So go ahead and draw that strong all the way through. That'll help a little bit with composition too. We're going to try to stay mostly, or at least the composition that we're going to wind up cropping into will be inside this cone. Now, if you want more cone, pull your station point back out of the picture plane. If you want less cone, right, pull it in a little bit further. So let's finish out where our station point meets the end of our cone, right there. Then, of course, we have now our 60-degree cone all the way across. You should know that by now, for sure. There we go. Okay, so let's set in a 45-degree measuring point. So I'll get my 45 ruler out 90, 90, or excuse me, 90, 45, and 45. So again, we'll set it in from our center of vision, lock it into our station point here, and then we'll draw outward as it lines up, and then again where it bisects, touches our horizon line, our eye level right here. That is our 45-degree measuring point. Okay. So we've got that. Congratulations, you're done. We can say end of the lesson. Now let's go on. We're going to do 3 buildings. 3 is plenty. And the one major difference between our last lesson and this one is that here's what's funky about this one. I'm going to start to pull in also too as well. And here's what's funky about this one, or a little bit different I would say, is that we don't know where we're sitting on, or excuse me, standing on the ground. Okay, let's pretend like we're in New York City and we're standing on concrete, right? And we're looking up. We're in Midtown Manhattan. Okay, maybe we're in Broadway, 50th, 51st and Broadway, in that area. I used to work in that area long time ago, and we're standing on the concrete and we're looking directly up. Okay. So we don't know how high up some of our stories are when we build our buildings up, and that's a little bit of a problem. Okay, now the one way we can address that is, remember in our last lesson 25 we put our building structures down where they touch the ground. Okay, this time we're going to do that. Okay, we won't see a street obviously because we're looking up in the sky, but we're going to put down these rectangles, or it could be a square if the building is squarish, but they're going to signify for us, our reference, an equal story. Okay, meaning that they could be 15 stories up, they could be 20, they could be 30, they could be less than that. We don't really know. What we do know is in our vision that we can say, when I draw these first rectangles, and we'll draw 3-ish, is that they will be this on the same level. Then when we go to measure, because we're going to be measuring up to the vanishing point, not down from, we can say that one building is higher, one building is lower from our relative equal plane. That's what I meant to say. That the plane, or the story, actually is equal. That's really important to know. Let me demonstrate that. It's really simple. It's not hard. Maybe I'm making it sound probably harder, I bet, than it is. So let me show you. So let's start out with our first building here. And I'll slide in try to make yours, close to mine if you can. Let's put in our first rectangle here, and let's keep it within the cone. I kind of play off my notes a little bit. I want to raise this up a little bit. So we're going to put this rectangle here, and then I'll bring it up to here. This is going to be, this represents one story of a floor, or one story in our building here, and it's going to be equal to all the others. Okay, so I don't know how high this is, but I do know how high relative from that. When I build these up later on, I can make it. Let me make that even clearer. Here's my notes. And so this rectangle here, where it's kind of in blue here and here, those are all equal stories, and I can make our building higher, go higher, and or not quite as high, depending upon this equal floor. And they're all the same height level from us. That's going to be important. So let's slow this down and make sure that we get that. So the next one I'll put in, let's flip our ruler around a little bit, or our 30-60. Now this is a 30-60-90, remember that, just like our last one. So we'll make this one a little bit more angled over here, and I'll put it about right here. Because remember, we're already looking up at a floor, okay? Before we even draw our building, we're already looking up at a floor. This is one floor, and all of these floors are on the same story or level. They could be 15, they could be, let's make it, let me just say that, let me put that over here. Let me talk about scale too. I'll put that over here in our notes. How about that? Is that each floor, each equal floor starts out at, I'm just going to put each E for equal floor. We're going to start that at, that's going to be at 30 stories. Already 30 stories up. So these are going to be pretty relatively tall buildings, okay? And again, we're going to go with scale that is 1/2 inch. So scale is like exercise 25. A 1/2 inch is going to equal 20 feet or 1 story. So that when we start building more floors up to our vanishing point or building out, we can determine how many more stories we want to build on top of 30. We might want to build up 20 more, that gives us 50 stories, or 5 more, that gives us 35. So you see the problem when we look up, because we can't see the ground, because that's where our feet are at, and we're looking directly up, our center of vision and our eye line right at the sky. We have to kind of guesstimate, and that's okay too. I don't mind that as well. So let's put one more rectangle out here. I'll put it maybe out here, seems pretty good. Maybe I'll try to stay inside the cone best I can. So I'll put it here and then a little bit lower than the other one. Here seems nice. And then we'll go up here. And then maybe right here to stay inside the cone. So let me tighten that up so you can see that nice and clean there. And then there, let me bring my triangle back over. There we go. And let me clean up that so you can see it. Use my Japanese mono eraser. There. And we'll clean this up. Again, you want to clean up your drawing along the way just to make it nice and readable for yourself. This could be a preparatory, accurate structural study for a final drawing or painting, if you want or if you will. Okay, so what we're saying now is that each one of these stories is at 30 stories up. Okay, now we're going to build our buildings downward. Okay, not upward this time, but downward from these VPs, from these stories, and then later on we'll build and measure back up like we did last time, how high we want to make them. All right, so from the vanishing point, I'm going to move my T-square out of the way. From the vanishing point, all 4 corners of our first building here, we'll go through each corner here and here. Okay, nice and light, or lighter than me. You don't have to go as dark as me. And through here, okay, and then obviously through this corner here, right there. Okay, now we're looking up at, this is the 30th story floor. What we want now is to be able to measure. We can base it off a corner here, right? Put a ground line across that, because all of these are equal. That's why these have to be equal, so we can measure up. Okay, so that's important to know, that you have to have 1/2 inch from where we're looking at this story. That's important too. So this is a little bit more complicated in the beginning than the other one. So we have to keep that in mind. Okay. All right. So we're going to put a ground line, or really a measuring line, across this corner right here. Okay. You can put it on either one, but let's see if this is the easier one. I'm just winging this now. All right, remember it's a 1/2 inch. So what I'm going to do is a line up here, nice and horizontal, put a measuring line across in blue, okay? And I'm going to put some measurement marks. Remember, a 1/2 inch is a story, okay? All right, so we want to put a mark here. We want to put a mark there, 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 and there. Let's put some on the back side, because I have a feeling that's where we're going to need it. So you can put it anywhere along that line. Remember, 1/2 inch represents 20 feet, in this case 1 story. So we're going to put a bunch over here. Now I'm going to come across and see how is that going to work. So what we want to do, we've got a perpendicular line here in perspective. Okay, measuring line across. And if I line up my ruler here, that's perfect, because I want to use this line Now going up to the sky infinitely, sky right there, right? That's where we disappear. We can't go up any higher. And each time I make a mark now, that represents a story or a floor. So I line up my ruler right through here with my measurement mark. I'll make a mark now on this line right there. Let me come in so you can see that even better. Okay, let's make sure that we can get really clear. You need clarity. There we go. Okay, now we're coming in. Now we're coming in. Keep my measuring point there. There we go. So you see what I'm doing here? We picked that corner of the building. We threw a measuring line across it because each one of these stories is equal height, 30 stories up. And now I'm lining up from my 45-degree measuring point along each individual demarcation to give me more stories. There's another one. And here's another one, right? And they're going to get smaller and smaller, right, as we go up. So let's see how many. I'm going to make one more right there and line up with my 45-degree. Let's see how many I made. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's 7 more stories up from my corner. Now, what about if we wanted more demarcations down below? Well, we can get that because we made some marks here as well. So we'll come back to our measuring point here. We can make another mark there. Measure and line up. Basically just lining up and making tick marks or marks on that line to give us the scale of our stories. Okay? There, and maybe one or two more right there. And let's do one more. Let me come over and measure one more. This is the hardest part of it, I think, right there. It'll give us one more in our composition. Okay, we'll try to keep our composition within the cone, and then we'll crop in from that. And then right, of course, right there. Okay, let me line that up. Remember, each one of these is 20 feet. Okay. Now we've got some work to do. So now here's the end right there. So we've got 7 more stories plus 30. So this building is a 37-story building. So that's 37S, okay, times 20. How many feet is that? Well, that's 60, and then 20 plus 7. Has another 140. So let me make sure that I do it correctly here. So I'll get out my calculator on my phone. Since I'm an American, we don't do math well anymore, unfortunately. So we have 37 stories, right, times 20 feet each equals 740 feet. Okay, so we're at 740 feet. That's a nice, decent size structure. So I'm going to put 37 stories and then 740 feet. All right, now let's figure this out. Now we're on that turn right with our first building. We actually chose the hardest one. That's good because it's really not hard at all. So we're going to line up. We're at our top, our 37th floor right there. Remember, how do I know it's the 37th floor? Because we started from the 30th, right? And we added 7 more floors to that. So there's the end of our building right there, okay? Bingo, right where I made that mark. Now we're going to bring down our story, or bring over our story lines all the way over to here so we can have a nicer looking building. So let's just work that now. You're going to have to get tight with your pencil. Let me sharpen back up. While you're waiting, while you're working, keep that pencil point tighter best you can, because the higher up we go, the closer the lines come together because we're in perspective. These are all 20 feet separating. There's another. Bring down your triangle. There's another. Okay. And there's another. And then they start to open up a little bit. And there's another. And there's another. And then we get to now the 30th floor. 31, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 37. And we're going to bring down some more because we have measurement lines on the other side of our corner to bring down from a measuring point here to give us a better look of our building. Okay. At least go out to close to outside right where the cone is. There. And there. And there. Now keep going. And I'll wind up. I need a couple of more. I'm going to go to the end of our cone, so I'll need a few more. How do I do that again? Just add a few more 1/2-inch scale marks across here. I think we'll still be in the camera. That's good. So I need one here. And here I'll just put 3 or 4 more. I know I definitely don't need that many. Okay, then I'll come over and we'll line up against the measuring point here and then find out where we left off. Where they equal out, and then one more there. That gives us a mark there, and that's right about at the cone. I'm going to do 2 more just for the heck of it right there. And see how they start to get wider and wider and wider as we're coming down. These are getting close. Anything that's lower down in our composition away from the top of the vanishing point is getting closer to us in our drawing. That's the purpose of doing this, is to understand perception and how perspective is the best determinant for that perception, and then we take off on that, and then we naturally use our ability to not make things so tight. So what I'm going to do now is kind of finish out this building a little bit by outlining the side of it. Okay, down through here, okay, like so. And then down through here, and we don't see the very back of it, because you'd have to redraw the very back rectangle of the 37th floor, right? And that would be, I'm not going to do it, but that would be right here to here and there. Where's our corner, back corner? The second line to there, over to there. That would be our 37th floor, if we could see through it. Because remember, we started from our equal 30th floor height. Now I'm going to color that in now so you can see it. So when I color these in, that is the 30th floor of our building. That's important to know because we started referencing a measuring distance that were all equal. So this is 30. I'm going to go ahead and actually color them all in. Then this is 30 feet up. Excuse me, 30 stories up, 210 feet, right? 20 times 30, 600 feet, sorry about that. 37, not 7, there we go. So that's 600 feet up, and same thing here is just 30 stories. There we go. So each of these now is 30 stories. You can do that if you want to in your drawing as well. Just be light with your technical pencil. There we go. Alright, so each one of those is, I'll put that in blue down here. You can't quite see where I've demarcated it, but those are all 30 stories. Okay, let's start in with our next building. Let's work this one over here. So let me sharpen yours up if you need to. Let's build off of this. So we've got our first building, which was a 30, 60, 90 building off of perpendicular from the street that we don't see. We made it 37 stories. So let's see what we can do here. So from the vanishing point, let's project our rate of diminishment, or in this case really increase, coming from the VP out towards our building. And then every corner needs a hit, needs to be drawn through there and there down, and because we're coming down at us. It's coming down at us right there. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we need a measuring line, and we can set it in any corner. And I'm just trying to figure out in mind what we could set it here. We could set it here, here, here. What's going to be the best place to measure? If I measure from here, and I have to line up my ruler down, that's going to be a little bit difficult to come back up on. I might measure it, I can measure it here, And let's say if I drew along a line coming across this way, I might hit. So what I'm going to do is kind of just play around. And that's how it's done. You can kind of pre-plan, but I didn't. So I'm thinking about putting a measuring line out here. And then if I line it up long enough, it will hit out here. So I think that's probably the best one. What you really want is to hit one or two of these lines. You could do it on the inside, but then you have to bring them around and over, and that's a real pain. Just keep that in mind. So I'm going to put a little stronger dot right here. We're good in the camera where I'm going to draw a measuring line from. Remember, this is 30 stories up. The same thing is over here. So let's draw a nice measuring line across. And let's only think we're going to need it on this side. And then let's do some 1/2 inch marks for scale. So one there, and then also on the other side, so we can bring some down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 if we want to go all the way, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That'll be plenty. Let's start from our 30th floor and see what we wind up with. Do we want to make it as tall, or we want to make it taller? Let's see how it works out. All right, so we're going to line up from our measuring point through our marks here, and that's a story taller now than 30, so that's 31, okay? 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37. That gets us the same height as our other building. 38, 39. Do I have enough ruler? Yeah. And 40. Let's make it 40 stories, and that's going to end up, so we're at 40 here. I'll make a little mark. You can see it. That's 40 stories. Right here, we're at bisects from our measuring point over right there. That's our 40th story. So this building is going to be 3 stories higher, taller than the building that we just made. Okay? So I think what I'll do is not demarcate every story, but I will bring now over where our building is going to end here, right there. Stop where it meets the diminishment line. And now I'm going to darken this in a little bit. Okay. And that side. And on this side coming down from our corner here of our building, our 40-story building right there. Okay, so let me label that. I'll label it here on the outside. So we see, right, maybe right here. Maybe make a vertical line. Maybe that's going to be better. So we can see it maybe right here. So this building is going to be, we can't see it. Let me come out. Sorry about that. There, whoops, out of the way. There we go. Bingo. All right, this one's going to be 40 stories, so 40s, okay, times 20, that's going to be 800 feet high in that building, okay? Now we're going to make our building look a little bit better. Let's put stories now in our building, but let's skip in every 2 so they don't get so clogged. Well, maybe we should. Maybe we should get every one, so maybe it's good if you see it clogged. Let's do that. Let me not be lazy. All right. So we have to go back now to our measuring point here. Let me pull in again so you can see it clear. There we go. Okay, right there, measuring point still in. There we go. Okay, so we start at 40. We've already demarcated that. Okay, and then we're going to go down to 39. They're going to be very tiny. 39, 38. Okay, 37, okay, and 36 are going to be tiny, 35, 34, 33, 32, 31, of course we've already got 30 there, then we're going to go mark 29, okay, it's floor 29. Then floor 28 until we get out of the cone. 27, 26, 25. Whoops, no, it's 26. 25 is there. Sorry, I messed that up. 25. Messed up myself. 24, 23, and then 22 will be the last one that we need for sure right there. Whew. Okay, that's a lot. So everywhere you make a mark here, that's a floor. So you'll know where to make your vertical line coming down. So you bring over your triangle. Let me get my smaller one here. So we'll bring over our triangle, and then now we know where, in perspective, our floors touch. And so we'll come up there. So from 30, that's 31. Ooh, they're tight. 32. 33, keep a sharp pencil. 34. 35, and they're going to kind of run together. That's okay. 36. 37. 38. 39, and then 40. Look how smeared they start to get into. That's how we start to see when you're looking up, they all kind of run together. So pick a really tall building the next time you're in your downtown area and wherever you're living. If you are living in a downtown area, if that's not, next time you travel, if you have that chance. And by the way, this happens if you're in really tall trees or villages. Same thing can happen too as well in nature as well. They just get more organic. Okay, so that's 40. That's 10 stories up from 30. Now let's go down and just bring them down a little bit until we get out right outside the cone. So that's 29, you can count. 28, 27, 26, and I think I made an error. Yeah, right here, 25, and then 24 is not there, it's right there, 24. Look how they get wider, right? Because they're getting closer to us, 23. And 22 is right there. We need some more so we can see in this cone a little bit. So I've got to do some more work even to bring that through. And get my blue pencil. There it is. It's hiding from me a little bit. So let's do some more work over here in my drawing. You can just watch if you want. And we keep on adding more half-inch marks until we need it. I didn't think I'd need this many. And you keep on going. You just keep on bringing them out until you get as many as you need. I want to continue to make vertical lines for stories so I get plenty to finish out. Okay, so we ended there. Okay, and we come over, we'll need another one. That'll make a mark there. Just a few more. That'll make a mark there. And that'll make a mark. Well, let's see how far it starts to get way on out there. Look how all of a sudden it starts to really get wider as it's coming closer to us. Another one there. I think that's 23, and this one's maybe 22. And then one more, which is way out here. That's plenty. There we go. So there's our building, right? We're starting to look up to the sky. All this is in the sky. We're going to put a little sun or a moon, if you want it at night, up and through there in a moment. So we've got our next building. Remember, that's 40 stories tall. Okay, 40 stories. This is 37, 740 feet, 800. We started from 30 stories up, which is 600 feet. I'll write that down here in my legend. That's 600 feet up. Each story, remember, is 20 feet. Okay, so if you're in the metric system, sorry about that. That makes it a little bit tougher for the rest of the world. Again, I'm sorry we're not on the metric system. It's a political thing. Okay. All right, so let's work on our next building, our last building. And then we'll crop, and then we'll draw a little bit, make this a little bit prettier. Looks kind of raw. Okay. So now we need to bring up, we got it, verticality or dimensionality and depth, and to bring it down to the ground from our vanishing point. We'll go to all four corners, out here, and down, okay, and through here, right, and whoops, and all the way down. There you go. And from our back right corner here, coming in and down. Same thing now with the bottom one here to the right and through the vanishing point there and downward. Okay. Here's where our 30th story ends. How deep now do we want to make this one? Okay. And where do we want to put our measuring line on? All right. Okay. Let's make it just one more story tall, so we don't have to work too hard. We'll make this one our 40th story, our tallest building. Or we could add some things to it later on. Make it a Sears Tower, make it really, really tall. So let's see if this corner is going to be our best corner to measure on right here. So if I brought my imaginary ground line over here, I'd mark it over here. Then I'd make it mark. So I want to come up and not down, so that's not the greatest one to work with. And so then let's see if I work this back line here and I ground line over. I could put a ground line over there and make marks across. What would that do? That would get everything downward, but if I put them way back here, that start to get me higher too. So I think even across here, if I put them across going right, that would give me across here. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to put our ground line, or a measuring line, excuse me. I keep saying ground, but now it's in the sky. Our measuring sky line across here, but we're going to measure from this corner in, and we're just going to put one story. We're going to make it 31 stories. So all I need is one mark right there, okay, right by blue line, and I want to come in so you can see that even further. There we go. Okay, got it. Right here, I just came in one from, I put our ground line from this corner, came in one. And so we're going to just make it 31 stories. And the reason I did it from the back is so that my measuring across this line here could be reached from this point there to there. So here's our 31st story where that touches right. It's really slight. It's right there. Okay, so it's not going to be very much taller or look much different, but we are going to close it off. So here's my 31st story right there, and I stop at the top there where it meets the convergence line. Okay, right in through there. Then we're going to come over, since we're adding the story and we see a couple of sides here. I stop right there, so I'll darken this in so you can see it. Stop right there, and then we go all the way down, at least outside the cone a little bit right there. That's lining up with the vanishing point. We can see that. I'll do that on this side. It's kind of the same thing. Right there and downward. And in the inside corner, right in there. We line it up. All right, so now we're at 31 stories. So I'm going to demarcate that in our notes here. Let's see, let's pull out a little bit. Grab my remote control. There we go. So this one's only 31 stories. All right, so this one is 31 stories. Okay. So, and that would be, let's see, how many feet would that be? So I'll make sure I get it right. 31 times 20 equals 620 feet. 620 feet right there. Okay. So now let's go and put some more floors on there. So now I'm going to need more marks down below, like we had it. I'm going to need it on this side of our ledger. So let's put that on now. So one thing you have to be careful of when you measure, you kind of go into your other work. So when you draw like this is really kind of a preparatory drawing, or you make it kind of invisible little marks if you're doing a painting that you can paint over. So a couple here, let's see how many. I'll just pull over half-inch marks as I come across on our measuring line to get to a bunch. And what I want to do is just make marks right along this line right in through here so we can get more of our stories in for our drawing. Okay, so we'll line up our measuring from our measuring points through. Okay, we came through the 30th. Now we're at 29 right there. And then we're at 28, which is right there. And 27, 7. Okay. And then 26, 25. Okay, 24 and 23, and I'll stop there. That's plenty. Okay. So let's bring our t-square, our triangle over. So that's 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, and 23. And we could use a little bit more. I'm going to guesstimate from just based off what I see over here, just because I want to expedite, just go a little wider. So I'm going to fudge it a little bit, which is totally fine for now since we're almost done. Now I bring these measurements over horizontally. Right, so we've got 31, 30 done, 29 over. Look how far we have to go, 28, right? 27, broke my pencil, of course. Here we go. Got another one handy because I knew I would do it. What did I say, 27, 26, 25, right? 24, something like that. And over, and we just keep on going. So look how that's giving us that real extreme now point of view, and it's nice to get multiple sides to that as well. I think that looks pretty cool. Okay, so there we go. Now we've got a couple things we want to do extra here now, make it look a little bit more fresh and interesting. Looks very diagrammatic, and that's okay. Let's put now a border on it, or not a border, I'm sorry, but a picture plane, a rectangular picture plane on our drawing so that we can do a little shading in between here. Now what I want to do is use my cone a little bit and kind of slide it where I want. I'm going to slide it down and say I'm looking down here, by the way. Where do I want where it's touching? Right here. So it's where it's touching with my ruler where I bring my horizontal line across. That's where I'm going to put a horizontal cross where it touches the cone, here and here, and make it nice and dark. So you can see it right there and there, okay? Now I'm going to bring up a vertical from each of those sides. So here we're going to cut off a little bit, here, and then up to where it meets the cone, right there. So we're going to crop in, that's the point of it, so we can crop in more. We're not going to use all this extra space out here. And I'm going to bring up a vertical from where it touched the cone here to where it touches the cone right there. Okay, and that will bring me over to the other side. These will meet up pretty close. Right, yeah, pretty close, right there. And there's our rectangular picture plane that was ratioed out by our cone of vision, by the way. Okay, so now we're looking into our picture plane. So here's where our camera aperture or our drawing would be. Now, let's say this drawing was going to be, now this is probably, how big is this little sketch inside our cone? Let's see, it is 1, 2, 3, about 4 inches by 7 inches. We could make that ratio 1 inch equals a foot. We could do, this could be a 4 foot by 7 foot drawing or 4 foot by 7 foot painting. That gets to be medium large size in the art world. And this could be our thumbnail sketch for a big, cityscape where we're looking up at the earth around us as well. So let's give a little bit more interest to it, and let's give a little bit of sky as we're looking up, or maybe the moon if you want, or the sun. Let's hide the sun a little bit. Say maybe you could be like we're looking at an eclipse, you want to look at the sun directly, but let's say the sun falls in here. So I'm going to crop out a little bit. So right in through there is where I'm going to sketch in through there. So that means everything else in through here in this negative space is sky. And so I'm going to start to shade that in a little bit. Not too terribly dark, but dark enough. Let me get my lead longer, so we'll take a look at that. and we'll see what's going on here. And we'll start to see what we've wrought out a little bit more clearly in our drawing. So we're going to put a little graphite on with that. Remember now, which one is tallest? One's 40, right? One's 31, and one is 37 stories, because we started from a referencing measuring story of what? 30 stories, or 600 feet. Okay, so we'll throw down a little bit of shadow tone. We'll stay within our picture plane here. That's where we cropped in. That's where we're looking. We have an accurate portrayal of representational space through perspective. So later on, when you're freehand sketching or relaxed sketching, you have a better sense of structure and understanding of what and why these buildings are diminishing and what your point of view. This is a 1-point perspective drawing. It is not 3-point. It's actually a 1-point perspective drawing. So maybe this is a nighttime view. We can go a little bit darker with our sky, especially maybe around the moon. In through here, bring that out a little bit. In through here, go a little bit stronger. Bring that out a little bit further. Clear that up. And I think you start to get the idea of looking directly up. That's really painful to do that. Try that. Go outside, or you go in your room where your studio is, or wherever you're at, and look straight up. You crick your neck like that. That actually hurts quite a bit. So let's say, for instance, there were some antenna on some of the buildings and they were going up. How would you draw that? Well, you probably wouldn't see where they would be landing on the top of the roof of the building, but they would go, if they're level, they would go to this vanishing point. So we could do something like that. Maybe I'll put a couple of antenna over here, just keep them really like basically thick lines, and maybe there was one here, and they're maybe pretty tall television data type antennae. There's a lot of stuff on the roofs of buildings. You'd be amazed at what's up there, and you could do something that looked kind of like that. So let's go in a little bit further, and we now see our drawing of a 1-point perspective, accurate use of the viewpoint of looking directly up at the sky at 90 degrees from the ground. You've got your head moved up. We're not in 3-point, but we're in 1-point perspective, and we've got a building that's 37 stories tall. That's 740 feet. Then we've got another one that is 40 stories tall at 800 feet. Now these antennae probably break that, but this is our tallest building. And then we've got one over here that is 31 stories and 620 feet, and it is actually the shortest of our buildings. So maybe we'll put a little bit of shadow on here just to turn that plane just a little bit to make that recede a little bit and move over to the side. The point is not the shading, the point is the perspective. But this one I think was nice to shade a little bit, just to give us that sense, to show how what this looks like when you start adding shadow and depth and light and value and edges a little bit more. It gives it a little bit of a resolution that might be harder to see for this one. Okay, there you go. So we'll pull out a little bit. Really not too terribly hard once you get the idea of it. What you really need to remember, it's a lot like our earlier one, exercise 25, but we need equal representational planes or stories in this case, so we can demarcate measurement up from, not down from, but up from. Down from is a lot harder. It's doable until you start to get way out here, and then you don't know anymore how tall you are. So what we do know that this is 40, 31, and 37 stories tall. And we assume that maybe we're just 6 feet tall. So you could demarcate where 6 foot is here, and somebody was hanging out, or Spider-Man was crawling up on a building. You could do it that way too as well. Okay, there you go. That was exercise number 26 90-degree viewpoint in one point, looking straight up at a series of buildings. Okay, good luck with it, and I hope you have fun with it, and I'll see you really soon with our next lessons. Take care, and adios.